University of California, KUCR. I'm DJ Diya Anantharaman, and I'm here at NAMM with Max from Moog. Hi, Max.
Hello.
How are you today?
Doing well, just moving through another NAMM, but it's been fun and exciting, and yeah.
So, how do you feel about Moog's new products right now? Can you tell me a little bit about them and what your favorite features are of the Muse, the Labyrinth, etc.?
Yeah. So I do product design, and I'm also a product specialist at Moog, and the three things that we've put out more recently are the Spectravox right here. This is a super interesting processor that's based on a filter bank, but it still has an oscillator and an amplifier and envelope, so you can use it like a synth voice or a processor or a vocoder. So it's just a really unique device that's widely, has a wide range of applications and is really flexible. Labyrinth is another new one that we put out earlier this year, and it's a pretty big departure from Moog in terms of how we structure our synthesizers. This one is more of a generative synthesizer that allows users to kind of improvise ideas that they're putting into it, and also has a very unique voice structure. So we're really happy with this one. And so this is Muse. We put about 5.5 years of work onto this, and then it came out just this past year. It's an 8-voice polyphonic analog synthesizer, but it has a lot of unique features in terms of how the modular aspects of it work, because you have a mod map that you can put 16 modulation slots, but it sort of works like some of our modular synthesizers, but the patch cables are all digital. It has a really flexible sequencer that's able to do really interesting generative stuff. So you can put in an idea and it's going to improvise on the idea that you put in, and so it can kind of give you ideas back when you're putting ideas in. And then the arpeggiator is incredibly flexible, and then we developed a really special digital delay based on a lot of classic golden era rack gear from the late 70s and early 80s. And I'm just really proud of where we got with this tonally in terms of how the delay sounds. So we're just really proud of all of the amazing sounds that it can make, but the unique ways that you can interact with the instrument.
For sure, yeah. And can you tell me a little bit more about your favorite features of maybe the modular or the kind of generative aspects of this?
Yeah, well, so definitely the way that this sequencer is able to improvise on ideas, because a lot of times when you get a generative sequencer, mainly what it will deal with is randomizing rests or things like that, where you're just controlling if the note might happen or not.
Right.
We went a lot deeper with this, where there's 3 different schemes for how pitch can be improvised on, where if you put chords in, it can invert or revoice the chords just based on chance. You can put in 2 different sets of note data and have it flip a coin between playing either one, or if you're just dealing with single notes, you can put in a scale and it's allowed to just improvise within that scale. So I think that is a really nice and powerful feature of Muse. And then, with the semi-modular stuff, it's just, I like the fact that it's so flexible, and you can take the device, and if you add things to it, you can kind of modify and expand the things that they can do. So that's really what I like the most about it, is the way that it can interact and interconnect with all sorts of different instruments.
Yeah, and I noticed that a lot of your visual product design over here has sort of natural elements. You got a lot of wood hardware as well.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the aesthetic influences for the product design?
Well, so the Minimoog Model D, which this is a reissue that we currently manufacture, is one of the things that put Moog on the map. And we have modular synthesizers that existed before this, but this was in the era when no one really knew about what synths were, so putting a synthesizer into this package where it's really easy to engage with and use, this became the thing that made Moog the most famous. And so, it always has come with this wood case, although different models over the years have had different types of wood. And then that just became a part of our aesthetic as we're developing new instruments. So even this, it has wood sides, but like these slider caps, for instance, are based on an old synth that we made in the 70s called the Polymoog. And so we try to do this sort of future retro thing where we want it to look new, but we also want to take design cues from past instruments, and you can see the knobs are the same on all of the synths, and even on these semi-modular ones, we have wood sides that we got in there just to nail that Moog aesthetic. Yeah.
Totally. And my personal connection with Moog is probably Mort Garson. I love his work, and I know it's very Moogy. Totally, Plantasia. I would love to know, as someone who works in Moog, what's your favorite piece of music or album, perhaps, produced with Moog?
You know, I'm obsessed with George Clinton and Parliament, so a lot of the stuff that like Bernie Worrell did with Parliament, I love that, but also, you know, the way that Dr. Dre used it on a lot of early hip-hop. It's hard for me to narrow it down to just one because it's been on so many records that I love, but yeah, I would say that the way that Bernie Worrell used it with Parliament is probably my favorite.
Amazing. And of course, if you had to be on a desert island and could only take one piece of Moog gear with you, what would it be and why?
It would probably be the Model D. I really think it just has a beautiful musical tone that is really sweet sounding, and there's a lot of limitations in comparison to modern synths, but I like that the limitations often force you to be creative in terms of how you're using it. So yeah, I just think the synthesizer sounds so perfect that this is probably what I would choose. And then Muse would probably be a close second because Muse can just do so much, but yeah, this synthesizer is pretty perfect.
All right, thank you so much for this. This has been DJ Diya Anantharaman at NAMM with Max from Moog at NAMM 2025.